There are two Larry legends, the Hall of Famer in Boston, Larry Bird, who's one of the greatest of all time. And here in St. Louis, we have a local legend. A lot of people wanted to grow up and be like Larry Hughes, a McDonald's All-American at CBC who became a freshman All-American at SLU before embarking on a 14-year NBA career. With the finals about to start in the NBA, we thought tonight Larry would be the ideal Sunday conversation. And it's a pleasure to welcome the great Larry Hughes. Good to be with you. Could you play right now? I mean, what was your playing weight and what is it right now?
My playing weight was probably 185, 189 at the end.
And I'm about
205 now.
I think you could probably still play a little.
Some grown man weight now.
All right, let's talk about the NBA Finals. Your godson, Jayson Tatum. When did you know he was different? What age?
I think it was 14 or 15. So I think it was ending his freshman year, going into his sophomore year. I mean, he was stretching out. You know, shoulders were getting wide, and he obviously had a focus of basketball the entire time.
And this whole finals, the pressure and the narrative on Jayson, because like outside St. Louis, people are saying what he hasn't done, but they don't mention a lot that he scored more points in his first 7 years of his playoff career than anybody in history, and he just went and had a series where he went 30, 10, and 5.
Well, I mean, I think it's the old game. I mean, they build you up to figure out ways that they can kind of pull you down. I mean, his stats show that he's productive. His stats show that he's a leader. His stats show that he's ready for the moment. So all the talk is really pretty much talk right now.
You're one of 4 players in basketball history to be a teammate of LeBron and Michael. Compare and contrast.
I think that those guys are great, obviously, first and foremost. I had MJ at the end of his career, obviously, and I had Bron in the beginning of his career. And there are more similarities than differences, in my eyes. Those guys were focused. Those guys paid attention to detail, took ultimate care of their bodies. And I think if you have to think about something that separates them is their mentality and how they communicate between the lines. I think MJ is a little bit more demonstrative as far as to how he gets his point across, whether it's on the court or in the locker room. And Bron is a little bit more subtle approach where he'll talk you through things a little bit more.
If you could have one to win one game, what do you choose?
MJ. MJ for me. I mean, obviously the stats, show that he's made it to 6 finals, won them all, many accolades that he has. I mean, I'll take MJ.
How about your best Michael Jordan story? Talking smack or him being really tough on the younger players? Or
Byron Russell in D.C. They got into a little talking match about who can make shots or who can shoot 3-pointers. And somehow MJ convinced him to shoot 3-pointers from the, not quite to half court, but more towards the hash mark. And Byron, he lost a lot of money. And MJ never shot the basketball. So it was more so of him just kind of talking him through and getting him hyped up. And he never had to shoot the basketball to win the money.
All right, you run a terrific basketball academy in St. Louis. And I want to ask you why nowadays it seems like the better players or the more skilled players are the foreign-born. I mean, Jokic, Luka, Giannis, soon Wembanyama. Why are they developing better players, it's seemingly at this point, than we are?
I think it's a system in which they develop. I think it's an understood system there as far as to how the young people will develop and where they start. It's way more practice than it is games. I think over in the U.S. it's flipped. So you get into a lot of bad habits because you just need to get the job done. And I think from a young age, those guys were started with the fundamentals of basketball and developing the fundamentals. And eventually you'll become elite if you do enough fundamental work, and I think that's what happens with the foreign players.
So if you were in charge of basketball in the United States, how would you make our players better? Not that AAU is bad, but how would you change things a little bit?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is really standardize the skill development process and giving the young people everything that they need to be successful, but giving it to them where they can digest it before they actually have to go out and compete in a 5-on-5 or live game situation. So really drilling them up, but obviously giving them the fundamental tools, just right-hand layup, left-hand layup, and really drilling those things before we move on to step backs or, long-distance 3-pointers and things of that nature.
So that's what you're probably trying to stress at your basketball academy, and I know you have a lot of things going on this summer. Tell our viewing audience about it.
Well, yeah, it's just having programs in place to allow the young people to experience basketball in the way that they want to experience it, have parents the ability to have programs that are available for when they have to work, or obviously kids are out of school. So we have summer camps, we have clinics that go on the weekends. Our regular skills and drills program, that's every night during the week. So there's always an opportunity to get into LHBA West and LHBA South for any sort of program that you need.
All right, let's talk St. Louis University. Of course, your son, Larry Jr., is a part of that program. Your impressions of Josh Schertz?
I like him. I mean, I like everything that he brings to the table. Obviously, once the rumbling started during the season last year, I kind of started to look more about who he was as a coach, how he kind of operate, what kind of sideline presence he has. And he checks all the boxes for me. He's a leader. He's a calm leader. I think all of his work is done in the practice gym, so he's able to be that stake for those guys when they're out there playing in competition, which a lot of coaches get excited over there on the sideline, and their players get excited. But he was a guy that I saw, as calm as he was, he kept his players calm, and I think that was a really good tool for their success last year, is his demeanor.
What about Larry Jr.'s progress? What are you doing this summer with him to get him to the next stage of his career?
There's things that we talked about at the end of last season he's going to work on, and those are strength and conditioning, obviously being in tip-top shape, his ball handling, obviously being able to come off the bounce, use screens of that nature, and then just being a confident player for the entire time. And those are the things that he's focused on. He hasn't wavered this summer. He's putting in the work, and he's ready to get started.
So you had a magnificent career where 14 seasons in the league, average 14, over 10,000 points, all defensive team. Sum up your career. It's been one unbelievable journey.
It's been a blessing. It's really been a blessing. Sometimes I actually forget that I played in the NBA, to be honest with you. My ultimate goal right now is to help fuel good young people into the space, allow them to experience basketball. But my journey with basketball was completely blessed. Didn't really set out to make it to the NBA per se, but the journey was definitely well worth it.
Good to see you, sir.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
That is the great Larry Hughes. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back.